Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining this morning doing Bhagavad class and attentive japa. Month of Kartik is going on. So a lot of spiritual benefits this month. So thank you for joining. We'll do a quick prayer first of all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai. So we're on the second part today. Lord Krishna instructing Uddhava. Last week we did the first 12 entities who were the first 12 gurus considered by Dattatreya Rishi. And today we will look at the other 12. So of the 24 gurus, we discussed 12, and the other 12 are the elephant, honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute, the kurara bird, the child, the young girl, arrow maker, serpent, spider, and wasp. So these are the other 12 gurus considered by the Avadhuta. So what did he learn from these 12 gurus? He learned elephant received the following instruction. Male elephants are tricked by hunters into moving toward captive female elephants, whereupon they fall into the hunter's ditch and are captured. Similarly, the man who becomes attached to the form of woman or vice versa falls down into the deep well of material life and is destroyed. So that's what we learned from the elephant. And the instruction received from the honey thief, just as a hunter takes away the honey laboriously produced by the honeybees, similarly, saintly mendicants such as brahmacharis and sannyasis are entitled to enjoy the property painstakingly accumulated by householders dedicated to a family enjoyment. So, according to Vedic injunctions, although the householders work very hard to accumulate money, the saintly sannyasis and brahmacharis have the right to first enjoy the fruits of such labor. The conclusion is that one should first give priority to spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness and thus perfect one's life. Then even without personal endeavor, one will be supplied of all one's necessities by the mercy of the personal Godhead. And there are many stories like this. We hear, where somebody has given up his material life, and first of all, they're afraid what will happen. I mean, typical cases with our sannyasis, when they have given up and they have nothing, in reserve. What happens? We heard a story last night. Braj Mohan deities asking the Babaji, and Babaji says, I can't feed you, I can't give you no clothes because I don't have any money, I don't have anything. And they totally rely on the mercy of Krishna to provide them. So that's just amazing. And the instruction from the deer, who is bewildered by the sweet music of the hunter's horn and is thus captured and killed. So also does any person who becomes attracted to mundane music and song uselessly waste his life. And the instruction learned from the fish is that because he comes under the sway of attachment to the sense of taste, the fish is caught on the baited fish hook and must die. Similarly, an unintelligent person who is victimized by his insatiable tongue will also end up losing his life by trying to enjoy for sense gratification. So we should eat foods in the mode of goodness as prasadam, first offered to Krishna. So that's the idea behind that. And not go for our own, taste in mode of passion and ignorance, especially. So, then there was a prostitute called Pingla. So what did Avadhuta learn from her actions? So there's a prostitute called Pingla in the city of Veda, and from her, the Avadhuta learned that Another lesson, which was Pingla laments that she chose to serve most sinful, useless men. She falsely thought they would bring her happiness and neglected to serve the actual Lord of the heart, which is actually Krishna. She could understand how foolishly she had struggled for money, not knowing that the Supreme Lord is always inclined to award prosperity to his sincere devotees. The prostitute was proud of her ability to please men, but she now laments that she did not try to please the Supreme Lord by loving service. And the Avduta Brahman describes the 7 remaining gurus, so that's the first 5 of the 12, and then the 7 gurus, beginning with the Kurara bird, which is a hawk in English. Once a group of large hawks who were unable to find any prey attacked another weaker hawk who was holding some meat. At that time, being in danger of his life, the hawk gave up his meat and experienced actually happiness and relief because they stopped chasing him. So he was quite happy that his life was saved by giving up his attachment to the food he was carrying. So the instruction received from the Krara bird is that the attachment creates attack of misery, but the person who is unattached to material possession is qualified to achieve unlimited happiness. The Avduta Brahman learned from the foolish, lazy child. So that's one of his other gurus, a foolish, lazy child. In this world, 2 types of people are free from all anxiety and merged in great happiness. One who is retarded and childish, fool, and one who has approached the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the 3 modes of material nature. So there's transcendentalists and there's the mundane people. So those who fervently seek material sense gratification are gradually pushed down into a miserable condition of life, because as soon as one even slightly violates the laws of nature, one must suffer sinful reactions. Those who are nonsensical and retarded, however, live in a fool's paradise. And those who have surrendered to Lord Krishna are filled with transcendental bliss. So there's 2 types of people. And therefore, both the fool and the devotee may be said to be peaceful in the sense that they are free from the ordinary anxiety of the materially ambitious person. However, this does not mean that the devotee and the retarded fool are on the same platform. So this is the thing. They might be peaceful, but they're not on the same platform, because a fool's peace is like that of a dead stone, whereas a devotee's satisfaction is based on perfect knowledge. So a fool is just dumb, he doesn't know what's happening, and he'll keep repeating his cycle of birth and death and thinking that he's peaceful, but he hasn't learned anything. The instruction received from the young girl. So this is another guru so this Avduta, he's been, observing everything, anything and everything to learn, to gain knowledge. So once several guests arrived to ask for the hand of the young girl, whose family had coincidentally just gone out. She went inside and began to prepare food for the unexpected guests by beating rice. At that time, her conch shell breasts were making a loud noise, so rattling against each other. The young girl feared that the men would consider her family to be poor because their daughter was busily engaged in menial tasks of husking rice. So being very intelligent, the shy girl broke the shell bracelets from her arms, leaving just 2 on each wrist. Meaning that just as 2 or more bracelets make noise, if even 2 people reside in the same place, what to speak of many, there is every chance of mutual quarrel and useless gossip. So we have to be very careful who we associate with and how many people we associate with, because we do end up talking mundane things, and some kind of misunderstandings always develop in communication. The Avduta Brahman also received instructions from the arrow maker. Now this is interesting. So there was a royal extravaganza passing right by his workshop. This is the arrow maker. The arrow maker didn't even notice because he was completely absorbed in his prescribed duty of making an arrow straight and sharp. So one who's completely absorbed in loving devotional service to the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, no longer pays attention to material illusion. External objects of material sense gratification, such as food, drink, sensual pleasure, and so on, including reflecting on previous sense gratification or hopes and dreams of future materialistic situations. All these drag the senses of the conditioned soul into material duality. And then after that, the Avadhuta Brahman learned from the serpent. The snake does not have the proclivity to build his own home, but rather lives in a suitable place constructed by other creatures. So he'll find a suitable hole, and that's his home. Thus he does not entangle himself in the labor of home building. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that although materialistic persons take unlimited pains to invent and mass produce electricity, automobiles, airplanes, etc., ultimately these things are meant for the convenience of the Vaishnavas. So we're not saying the Vaishnavas are like snakes. We're just saying, just looking at the similarity, how these things can be used instead of wasting time. Who are preaching Krishna consciousness. The karmis will always go to such trouble, and the devotees will always offer such laborious productions to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the idea. The main idea is to offer everything, to not waste our life building this and building that, achieving this and that. Main idea is to offer these things to Krishna. So the devotees, being concerned with the ultimate perfection of life, don't personally struggle for material advancement. A devotee's goal is simply to serve Krishna as nicely as possible. Therefore, the devotees willingly accept beautiful mansions and all types of material opulences, not with any personal attachment, but only so that these things can be engaged in the loving service of the Lord. And then the instruction obtained from the spider. Just as from within himself the spider expands thread through his mouth, plays with it for some time, and eventually swallows it. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands his personal potency from within himself. Thus, the Lord displays the network of cosmic manifestation, utilizes it according to his purpose, and eventually withdraws it completely within himself. This is a fantastic observation by the Avadhuta, how the Lord manifests everything. Things go on, we get caught up in there, and then when Lord's had enough, it's all disbanded and then restarted somewhere else, or at a later date. And then this is another interesting one. From the weak insect, what did the Avadhuta learn from the weak insect? So once there was a wasp, forced a weaker insect to enter his hive and kept him trapped there. And due to extreme fear, the smaller insect was absorbed in the characteristics and activities of the large wasp, and thus entered into existence of the wasp's qualities. So he was trapped in there, and he's always watching the wasp, and sooner or later he started behaving like the wasp. So due to such meditation, he actually took the body of a wasp in his next life. Similarly, although we are conditioned souls, if we absorb our consciousness in Lord Krishna, we can become we can become liberated even before giving up our present body. And then after giving up our body, we can go to Krishna and be with Krishna, and depending on what desires you have, spiritual desires you have, having the same body as Krishna, having the same planet as the Lord. There's a lot of other things, but mainly we're looking for Krishna love. That's our aim. So these are the final 12 entities that the Avadhuta learned from. So from the elephant, he learned that don't be so fond of the opposite sex. It's an illusion and trap. From the honey thief, one should give his priority to spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness. From the deer, don't listen to mundane music and gossip and get trapped in that. From the fish, try to control your tongue. Don't be attached too much to taste, and also mundane talk and gossip and useless chatter. So very important. Pingla, the prostitute, happiness lies in serving Lord Krishna. If you want to be happy, then make Krishna happy. Finding temporary happiness elsewhere only leads to disappointment. The Krara bird, the hawk, material possessions only bring unhappiness. Foolish, lazy child, a fool's peace is like that of a dead stone, whereas a devotee's satisfaction is based on perfect knowledge. Young girl, being alone can be an advantage sometimes to save unnecessary quarrels, to steady the mind, and get deep into spiritual life. Arrow maker, be absorbed in Krishna and not in nonsense. Offer serpent, we learn that offer everything in the loving service of the Lord, of Lord Krishna. Spider, the Lord displays a network of cosmic manifestation, utilizes it according to his purpose, and eventually withdraws it completely within himself. The spider shows a similar concept with its web as the Lord is creation. And the weak insect, one achieves a state of existence according to one's constant concentration. Whatever we think of constantly, we become that. And then the Brahmana sage explains to King Yadu, the son of Yayati, that he is not presenting theoretical knowledge. Rather, by wandering throughout the world, the observant and thoughtful, he had personally experienced the lessons learned from all of the above mentioned gurus. So, he wasn't just imagining this, he actually observed this quite well. And having learned from my spiritual masters, he says, I remain situated in realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fully renounced and enlightened by realized spiritual knowledge, born of the earth without attachment or false ego. So as we know, in the last week, that King Yadu observed this Avadhuta Brahman, and he saw him that he was alone. He seemed so unattached. He was so happy. So he wanted to know what was his secret. So he explained that this is how I, keep myself focused, and gain knowledge and advance in spiritual knowledge. So, O King, from all these spiritual masters, I have acquired great wisdom. Now, please listen as I explain what I learned from my own body. So, we can observe externally, and then we can observe internally as well. We can learn from our own body. So, what's happening to our body? So, subject to creation and destruction, that's the material body. It's temporary and it always comes to a painful end. The material body teaches me, he says, detachment. So why be attached to something that's temporary, that's going to be destroyed and it's going to give you a lot of grief? Why be attached to that? So another thing, a man attached to the body accumulates money. So it's dangerous to be attached to your material body, because if you're attached to your body, then you can accumulate money with great struggle to expand, protect the position of, then you want a wife, you want children, you want property, you want domestic animals, servants, homes, relatives, friends. The body requires all these things. So after food and shelter, you're looking for love, and you're looking for achievements, things like that. So your body's demands just increase and increase and increase, and then you just die, and then everything's left behind. So he does all this for the gratification of his own body. As a tree, before dying, produces the seed of a future tree, the dying body manifests the seed of one's next material body in the form of one's accumulated karma. So this is very interesting. Just like the seed produced by the future tree, or the tree before it dies gives off seeds that can be used to make another tree. Same way, our karma are the making of us in the next life, next body. Thus assuring the continuation of material existence, the material body sinks down and dies. Then the material senses. So he learned from his body, and then he learned from his material senses, harass the conditioned soul, pulling him in many different directions at once. On one side, the tongue is pulling him to arrange tasty food. Then thirst drags him to get a suitable drink. Simultaneously, the sex organs clamor for satisfaction, and the sense of touch demands soft sensuous objects. The belly harasses him until it is filled. The ears demand to hear pleasing sounds. The sense of smell hankers for pleasant aromas, and the fickle eyes clamor for pleasing sights. So this is the senses, organs and limbs, all desiring satisfaction, pulling the living entity in many directions. So when we start listening to their demands and we spend day and night just, you know, just being absorbed in their requirements and have time for nothing else, which is more important. So after many, many births and deaths, one achieves a rare human form of life. So why should we waste it, which although temporary affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection? So we should use it for the right reasons. Thus a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available in the most abominable species of life. So we can have sense gratification in any, we don't have to be human to enjoy sense gratification. This is what he's saying, that we don't have to be human to enjoy sense, or even the animals enjoy sense gratification, probably more than us. And that's why they became the species they did, because they enjoyed doing what they enjoy doing, and they were given a suitable body for that. The human body is given for Krishna consciousness, which is only possible in the body of a human being. So this is how we got to understand it. That human body is not for animal propensity; it's for getting spiritual realization. So that's the difference. So it's nice to have your association. We have Radha Devi Mataji, Praveen Mataji, Madhav Sham Sundar Prabhu is here today, and Kajal Mataji, thank you so much. Jai Prabhu. iPhone, I suspect it's Nitai Charan Prabhu, and Rukuni Mataji, Yesha Mataji, and Sabeshi Mataji, and we have B.D. Sharma, that's my father-in-law, Radharani's father. So welcome, and we'll have a little discussion about this now. See what we learned from these 24 gurus, and see where we go from here. So who would like to go first? Madhav Sham Sundar Prabhu, what do you think? Haribol.
Hello, Haribol Prabhuji.
Haribol.
Yeah, it's very nice class. All I can say
Ji.
is we don't have to attach too much with the material things.
Yes.
And because, like you said, it's all temporary.
Yes.
So just try to be busy as much you can in your bhakti.
Yes.
That's my realization.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Kajal Mataji, would you like to add something?
Hare Krishna. I just started 10-15 minutes ago, so sorry, I won't be able to say much. But
That's fine.
I really enjoy listening, and every time I hear something, I pick up something or the other, and I try and put that into my daily practice. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
whatever we hear will benefit definitely. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you for the
Well, I
class.
mean, we have to, obviously, we hear so many classes, we can never remember anything. But even if we take one thing away that sticks in our mind or changes our life in some way, then that's the whole idea. We sort of find something, some jewel that we are attracted to. So it's like
Yeah, I
like
think
a
you're
jewel.
right. Yeah, because like the mind is wandering. So you're listening to the class sometimes, but obviously you're doing your household stuff and your
Sure.
mind is wandering. So then you think, is this right? You shouldn't be doing two things, but then you can't stop all activities. But at least you're listening, and you're right. Something suddenly you hear, and I stop and I like pay attention more, and then I realize, yeah, okay, I got that. So yeah, something or the other will just stick into your mind. So
Absolutely. Yeah, your ears will catch it. I find out I can listen to 1.5 hour class, and then I don't learn, everything what Prabhu Mataji said. Then there's some things that will just your attention will catch. Oh, this is interesting,
yeah,
and then you
yes.
remember it, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Prabhu Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I quite agree with Kajal Mataji, because then I do that sometimes. And the benefit is at least we are not thinking of anything else and
Yeah,
we're still
good.
listening to the katha. So, yeah, and great class, great lessons, Prabhuji. And the thing
Yeah.
is, like, human life is for spiritual realization. And, like, we learn from Pingla, Ho, Honeybee that we shouldn't be attached to these worldly things. And the child teaches us freedom from material care. So simple living and snake. So we should avoid distraction from unwanted things. And the Aerosmith like focus on our goal, which is concentrate on the Supreme Lord because we want to return to Godhead. So great lessons. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jai Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. A lot of things to be learnt again from this week's class. The basic overriding message, I think, is like we should learn to control our senses. For example, Dia tells tells the lesson from that is like control control what we're hearing. Fish, tells us fish and the tells us to control what we control our tongue, what we eat. One of them is a young girl, I think. Yeah, again, the learning lesson is again control our tongue and avoid gossip and mundane talk. Yes, I mean, this, as you said, the human's life is meant for spiritual advancement, and no, not for
Thank you, Ravi.
and not for any sort of material enjoyment or advancement. So yeah, that's it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, tongue is one of the senses that does two tasks. It tastes food, and it talks a lot sometimes. And Prabhupada says tongue is like the croaking of the frog sometimes. That we're asking. The frog croaks, and it's actually inviting his own death because the snakes can hear the frog where it is and they come and eat it. So we have to be very careful how we use the tongue. Obviously, actually, he was referring to some of these people who are preaching wrong things and etc. Mayavadis maybe, but it's a similar thing for us that we have to be careful that we don't do too much mundane talk because we just waste our life just waiting for death to come and grab us, isn't it? So, and also mention that if we can control the tongue, then we can control the other senses easily, because the tongue is the hardest one to control in our speech and in the kind of things we want to enjoy eating. So yeah, you control the tongue, the rest will follow. That's the idea. So thank you so much. And maybe my father-in-law would like to say something, add something. Auntie Daddy, you want to say something? Okay, maybe he's not by the phone at the moment. Okay, is that Prem Prakash Prabhu or Mataji there? Rukmani Mataji?
Hello.
Hani.
I'm here. Hare Krishna.
Hani, Mataji, hold on a minute. Hold on.
I forgot.
Okay, no worries. Hold on, Mataji.
Yeah, I'm fine. I heard your all these gurus, and it was very interesting. And
Yes.
also we also learned from the tree. Tree itself give us big shade, and tree itself tolerate the sunlight in the afternoon. So there is we can get lesson from tree also to tolerate things.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mataji. Hani, Daddy, boliye.
How are you, Nirmal ji? How are you, Prabhu?
Yeah, TikTok. What do you think? What we learned from these 24 gurus?
Bas, Hare Krishna, all fine.
Okay.
I photograph. I don't. I just read the Bhagavad-Gita, and उसमें होता ना एक वर्स होता है, उसके नीचे उसका वर्ड वाइज उसके मीनिंग रहते हैं, and below that there is a 3 lines of the actual what the meaning of that verse. So that I have studied few. It's very interesting to read Bhagavad Gita. और सुनाइए, how are you, sir?
Okay, we'll discuss later. Just go on, just because we have about 7-8 minutes left before we do chanting. So Radha, we have Radha Devi Mataji.
Sorry?
Okay, Mataji, you carry on. Rukmani Mataji, you want to say something else?
Okay.
Hanji.
Okay. I'm
Don't-
starting.
Don't start chanting yet. We're not chanting yet, Mataji.
Should I start? Should I
No,
start?
not yet. Not yet, Mataji. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll tell you. Sureshi
Okay.
Mataji. Sureshi Mataji, would you add something?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Well, what we learned from all these fish and all this, that it's the most sense gratification and senses are the root of our suffering. We're suffering because of that.
Good, yeah.
And we are not satisfied. The more we have, the more we want. That's why we're suffering. So we have to control our senses. And we should be satisfied just like a person. He was satisfied and depending on Krishna, what's in your fight, what Krishna is willing to give you. You should be satisfied, but we never get satisfaction. We get
Sure.
more and more, and we don't never get satisfaction. That's why we suffering. And then it's a very good example giving about the bumblebee and the honeybee. The bumblebee goes from one, and goes from one flower to another flower and takes whatever he needs. But the honeybee is trying to collect. So we shouldn't collect so much because in the end we're gonna leave everything behind and go.
Yeah.
So everything is there. So we must collect and have what we need, just like a bumblebee, not like honeybee.
Sure. Thank you so much, Madhuri. And I was just going to say that, we learned so many things. So these 24 gurus, we can also learn so much from them. That's the whole idea of doing this session. So we can, we can see what Datre has learned from them. And we can also learn what he had learned because he has told us what he has learned. So that's a good thing. Now we can also learn many things from things around us as well, isn't it? I'm sure there are other things we can learn from. And most importantly, this is probably the easiest lesson to learn. We can also observe and learn lessons from other people. So that's intelligence, isn't it? One who's intelligent obtains spiritual knowledge from, well, first of all, insignificant creatures like the spider. Okay, so we learned that, and Datre has already explained to us. So we can learn from them. If we can learn things from insignificant creatures like a little spider, what about learning uh, examples from great devotees or senior devotees? See what I mean? So we're learning from insects, the wasp, the spider, and other creatures, the deer, right, and the snake. We're learning from them. So how about we learn things from other devotees as well? So that's the important thing, that we pick up the qualities and positive habits of other people, learn from other people. Give you example, like a devotee, you might see a devotee who's helpful towards others, gives them honest and sincere advice, and which they can develop their Krishna consciousness, always approachable. I just think we find devotees like that, and they're completely dedicated serving Vaishnavas, following his Guru Maharaj and Shilpa's instructions. So why don't we learn that? So once we get into the observing and learning mentality, then we can start learning from people around us, see how they're serving and how they are helping other people. We can learn that. Or you might get someone else that always calm no matter what happens. And I mean, to be honest, these things I'm saying, I have not well as the three. I haven't personally seen these kind of people. They are there. They're definitely there. We see them. That we can see somebody who's always calm no matter what happens. We can also learn to be peaceful like that. Sometimes we panic when things don't go to plan, but we can learn from these people that you don't have panicking is not necessarily going to help you, right? It's not going to solve the situation. Worrying and panic does not solve the situation. We have to take positive action to solve a situation. Not panic and worrying will not solve this. So then what's the point? That's just a side effect of what's happened. We have to be positive and do something positive. If you can't, then well, then still no point in worrying, is there? Because you can't do anything about it. Then what's the point? So worrying never helps in any way. And then see other people who take their family along. They try to keep the family happy, and keeping your family happy and keeping them in spiritual life is also very important, because it will help your own spiritual life. If your family is happy, if your wife is happy, then you be happy. So the idea is keep your family happy. Don't concentrate on your own happiness. This is the mistake we all make. We're trying to concentrate on making ourselves. How can I be happy? How can I be happy with this or that? If we concentrate on keeping your family happy and others happy, then happiness will come automatically back to us. Keep your family happy, and then they won't hassle you for a start. So keep the family happy, and then you become happy. And we don't know how to do this. So we observe other people. How are they doing this? How do they keep the children happy? How do they keep the wife happy? So we can learn these little things from just observing, having the observing mentality, because most of the time we do tend to drift away. We are lost in our own thoughts, own little fantasies going on in our head, or we think about the past or what we're going to do in the near future. We spend our time, I know that we're just fantasizing on something and mundane a lot of times. But if we can be conscious of things around us, and especially when we come to association of devotees, we can be conscious of how the exalted devotees, how people who are senior to us, how they behave and how they achieve things. I mean, nobody's perfect. You might say, oh, they have faults. Well, we all have faults. That's our four defects, isn't it? We have faults. We have cheating propensity. We have illusion, things like that. So don't concentrate on that. Concentrate on the qualities. What can we learn from the qualities they have? How can we achieve those qualities? So that's the idea. So thank you all so much. Next week, we're going to talk about Bhrigu Muni and how he proves the supremacy of Lord Vishnu.
Can I say something, Prabhu?
Sure, Mataji.
Haribol.
Haribol.
I think we can find peace only when we serve Krishna and we devotional service. That's the time we find peace. Just like Pingla, when she was waiting for the customers, she was suffering. But when she started meditating on Krishna, then she found peace.
Absolutely right, Mataji. That's the key. I mean, I'm going on family because a happy family will be good for your peace of mind and your spiritual life. Because if you are quarreling and family is always complaining, then how are you going to concentrate on your bhakti? You can't concentrate on your bhakti. It's like that girl with the bangles, there will be quarrels going on in the house. So you have to keep others around you happy. But yeah, the ultimate goal is to please Krishna. That's the ultimate goal. But make sure there is no obstacles on the way, because these other things will be your obstacles. So you have to remove the obstacles. You have to work hard and just say that you're doing it for Krishna. You are tolerating for Krishna. So once you can learn to tolerate, and not just tolerate, you have to take positive actions as well to maintain everything in order, and then please Krishna's senses. Yeah, so thank you so much. And Sunday is the appearance of Radha Kund, so Nitai Kirtan Prabhu will be giving class. So please join us then. And next Friday, Bhrigu Muni proves the supremacy of Lord Vishnu. That's a very interesting katha as well. So please join us for that. And now we'll chant a couple of rounds, starting with the. And now Rukmini Mataji, all ready to go? Mataji.
Yes, I'm ready.
Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, which canto is this today?
Today,
Canto and chapter?
I can tell you, I think it's from, just give me a second, because we've done this in two parts. Yeah, it's 11th canto, chapter 8.
11 and 8.
11 canto, chapter 8.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm starting.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yes. Hari Bol. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासुदेव गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे